But why'd you pour it in a glass?
It wasn't cold yet, so I poured it in a glass and threw some ice in it.
Oh, on the rocks?
Yes, it was on the rocks.
Seltzers on the rocks.
Seltzers on the rocks.
What's next from the draft?
Get
Get a picture of it when you go out there?
Yeah, so hey, look, you all make fun of my seltzers all you want, but...
Hello and welcome everyone to episode 15 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Michael, Anthony, and Steven. Hey fellas.
Good evening, guys. Here's my thing. Like I've learned, and I've done research on this now. Did you all know, I don't use DoorDash. Like, I hardly ever used it. I don't know, maybe I've used it once or twice. But
that's all I've used is once or twice.
DoorDash, Uber Eats, all those, what's the other one? DoorDash, Uber Eats, and...
Somebody driving the food to your house? Yeah, Grubhub. There you go. Yeah.
So anyway, there are restaurants that only exist on those sites. That's it. It's all the only place they exist. You can get on there, and like I was scrolling through it to see, I was trying to figure out what we wanted for dinner last night, trying to get ideas for restaurants. And these restaurants pop up that I'm like, I've never even heard of this place. There was a Asian bowl place, like a ramen type place. So I looked that up, and it's got an address, but the address is like a Fazoli's on, here in town. So like they cook out of that restaurant, and then I guess they just deliver.
Wow.
So I got online, so I started looking this stuff up, and it turns out that like Outback Steakhouse has their own restaurant like that too. Hooters has a burger place that runs out of their Hooters restaurant, which, I mean, come on, we're going to Hooters. Like, I'm not having Hooters delivered.
So is this like a response to the pandemic? Like,
I guess it
restaurants are like renting out kitchen space to
like,
have people operate out of their restaurant?
I guess, but
That's
then why
crazy.
wouldn't you just like use what you have at your restaurant? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because there's a couple that were running out of a Frisch's Big Boy on here in town,
and you don't want what's running out of Frisch's.
No,
Big
you
Boy,
don't.
you don't want.
Let me tell you, the best one I saw. All right, there's one called Pasquale's. I was like, oh man, Pasquale's sounds awesome.
That sounds like a good old Italian meal,
The pizza, they had pictures of it. The pizza looked great. Big. Yeah. It's run out of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, come on,
like,
man.
Right? But apparently they use better ingredients than the Chuck E. Cheese. But I mean, my God. But still, like, it's fascinating. So
that
then
is.
As I dug deeper into it, I saw that like Guy Fieri has one in like some of the big cities, because when we were in Nashville a couple weeks ago.
As an online-only restaurant?
Yeah, he has an online. And I think it runs out of like Carrabba's or something like that. It's just interesting. Like, I guess it's a way to, like you said, supplement, just like distilleries contract out their distilleries for other brands.
Yeah.
Restaurants are doing the same thing.
That's crazy. So I guess no food from Pasquale's, and
I don't think I'm ordered from Pasquale's.
Yeah, probably not. I mean,
I like to see the restaurants that are complete opposite of the kitchen they're
right,
working out of.
You're working out of.
Like,
exactly.
You have a Italian place running out of an Indian restaurant.
There you go.
Like, are the aromas of the Indian restaurant going to be infused into the food?
Right. Here's your chicken parm, but it has flavors of masala.
Yeah, exactly. Steve and I were talking about this earlier, like the poke bowl type that you can order from Fazoli's. It's like, do you get it delivered? Does it come with a breadstick too? Like, can I get an Italian ice with my chicken teriyaki?
I think maybe this is the future. You see, we're laughing about it now, but I think this is actually the future that we're talking about.
Maybe
here.
It is.
Yeah.
Everything just runs out of a huge kitchen in one location, like in an Amazon warehouse.
Well, gentlemen, this week we have our first sponsor. It's from a company called Whiskey Gifter. The owner, Ike Gilbert, he's from Georgia. And what he does is he takes old alcohol bottles, whiskey bottles, vodka bottles, tequila, etc., and he takes the tops off them, sands them down, finishes the top, and they become candy dishes, cork bowls, anything you want to put in them. They'd be a great accessory for a work desk or a home bar. I feel like they'd be a good gift for Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up, or birthdays. They're very affordable. On the website, they have a different combination of, some of them are just the bottles, but with the bottles, they come full of candy, an actual Glencairn, a nice leather-bound coaster, free shipping, U.S. only. Check them out at whiskeygifter.com. Same thing on Instagram and Twitter. That's whiskey with an E, gifter.com. For today, our bottle is going to be a Spirit of French Lick 4-grain bourbon.
Yeah, this is one that I'm really excited about. Heck, I'm pretty excited when I heard you talk about that, the sponsor, the Whiskey Gifter. But let's get into this 4-grain. So 4-grain bourbon from the Spirits of French Lick. This bottle has been talked about a lot. It's a bottle that's pretty current here from 2020. And it has an ABV of 45%. It's 90 proof. And so this is a 2-year-old bourbon. Its mash bill is 60% corn, 70% wheat, 13% oats, and 10% of caramel malt barley. And it's got an MSRP of $48, $48, $50 in most markets. So it's definitely one I'm excited about because it's been talked about a whole lot by a couple of big whiskey critics, a couple review sites, people talking a lot. It's got a lot of buzz over the last year of being a craft distillery that people got to check out. So I'm really excited to taste this one tonight, gentlemen.
Well, shout out to Brandon Ward for gifting it to Stephen for his birthday. We're going to find out if it was a really good birthday present or if Brandon hates him and, it was a terrible present.
Yeah, Brandon, if you're listening, man, you're on the hot seat.
Oh, he will be listening, I can promise you that.
Okay.
And then I actually got to try this a little bit ahead of time a couple months ago. A buddy of mine, Chris, that visited French Lick, picked it up while he was there, thought it was cool. And so when he came home, we tried it. But it's been a long time since I tried it, so I'm looking forward to trying it again.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, before we get into talking about notes and stuff, I know that they've expanded their profile a little bit. The bottle we have is 2 years old tonight, but I know that they have a recent bottle and bond. They have some other stuff going on. I'm actually not very well informed about everything they got going on. I was supposed to go to French Lick last summer with my family, and that trip got canceled due to COVID. We were supposed to go to the resort there. And I got a feeling that I really would have visited the distillery if I had a chance to go there. But
French Lick is a really cool place. Like we've taken.
Where's it at?
It is about maybe an hour and a half outside of Louisville, in Indiana. It's the home of Larry Bird.
There you go.
He was the hick from French Lick, right?
That's right. He actually said after he won his first championship, he'd rather be in French Lick. He wanted to go drink that bourbon we're going to have tonight, even though it wasn't around yet.
But apparently there are these, I guess they had like springs, hot springs, cold springs, whatever they are that's good for you, mineral springs.
Yeah.
And so they built these resorts there, and then they went and they like deteriorated and all that kind of stuff. And then people, as a matter of fact, I believe it was Lee Sinclair, the name on this bottle right here, kind of rebuilt them. And so now you go in there and it's got, there's a casino, there's like tons of golf courses, pools, spas, restaurants. It's a pretty cool place. There's 2 different hotels, and they're connected through like a train. You can drive there, but there's a train too that you can take back and forth. Every year they do a Santa train, like the Polar Express.
Nice.
So we went one year and did that, which was pretty cool. So yeah, it's really, really nice up there.
Well, now
you wouldn't think that the middle of Indiana would be like some kind of resort
exactly
town, but it really is nice. I mean, if you can't get to Florida or something,
Yeah.
I guess Indiana's your next best option.
Well, you got me feeling bad about the fact that we missed our trip, but it was literally right before COVID stuff started getting out of control, and we were contemplating going, but we decided to hold off. And of course, they were very nice and refunded our money. But now I'm wishing I could get up there, and I'm going to have to tell my wife we should plan a trip based.
Well, if anybody knows fun, it's Lee W. Sinclair. Look at his picture there on.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this bottle.
It's a 4-grain, right? And it says on here corn, wheat, oats, barley. We learned before the show tonight that we don't even know what barley is. So
yeah,
so we had to look that up. I feel like, I'm being honest, if you're putting 4 grains into something, a little bit of everything, right? So what are you going to really be able to taste when there's 4?
It's going to be a fine balance,
especially when 50% of it has to be corn at least.
Yeah.
So. So the other 3 are divided at a pretty small rate. Like, are you even going to be able to taste any of those? But the bottle itself is a cool looking. It kind of looks like a whiskey bottle. It kind of looks like a Scotch bottle.
Yeah,
it does actually.
I'm sure that's probably just a generic bottle. It's got a synthetic cork. I've learned to appreciate the synthetic cork after a couple weeks ago when the Four Roses cork. Basically snapped
No, it wasn't Four Roses.
It was Wild Turkey.
Wild Turkey, you're right. Sorry about that.
And just so you know, an update on
Shout out to Four Roses for their solid cork.
Exactly, and I've heard from many people that turkey corks are known to split off.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a known problem. So maybe they need to look into synthetic corks.
Other than that, it's it's got the picture of Lee W. Sinclair on it. So I thought, okay, this guy's got some kind of background in whiskey making, or at least wine making or something, because they do have some wineries and stuff up there.
And he looks very serious.
He
in this
really
picture.
does.
He
I mean,
looks
he
like
is
he's ready to take on the world.
Dude is
there.
a banker, like you can tell. But it turns out all he did was he basically reconstructed the hotels up there, and he's rich. He's a rich guy. So I guess if you're rich, you can put your name on a bourbon, right?
Yeah, maybe not like is not the same kind of pull that like Elijah Craig has. So
Well, I mean, if you're rich, you can put your name on a good bourbon.
There you go. Right. Yeah.
Other people just put their name on, like poor William Tarr. I mean, look what he's got. I mean, first of all, his name's Tarr. I mean, that's.
Yeah, you
wonder how that mouthfeel is.
Yeah, that's so. Anyway, who knows? And I'll also be very honest with you and tell you that I care nothing about anything outside of Kentucky bourbon. So maybe this will break my stigma, my Kentucky lenses I have on.
Yeah.
But I don't care. I honestly don't think I own one bottle of anything that is
not even MGP stuff.
I don't even think I have an MGP. I really don't. I was trying to think about this today.
Well,
the only thing I have is a Michter's 10. I'm not real sure where that comes from.
Yeah, nobody knows.
I don't know. But that's the only thing that's borderline that I have. Everything else is honestly probably from about 5 different distilleries. If it's not from an hour within Lexington, I don't think I care about it.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, as a person who likes some MGP stuff, I'm excited to taste craft from Indiana. So something that's out of the ordinary, I guess, other than what we expect.
But they do their own stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No. They do their own stuff.
Not,
that's why I said tasting a craft one from there would be great.
Far from MGP. I don't know that matters, but
yeah.
So they're going to be a little bit more north and west of Kentucky. So
yep, trying to take advantage of that crazy climate we have. It's good for aging bourbon.
Well, I'm sure Steven's going to get some serious notes. He is sniffing away over here like a hound dog.
There you go. I see him.
I'm doing this because this is my first 4 grain, and so I don't know if I've ever had anything with an oats in it, and definitely this mash bill percentage, being 60% corn on a 2-year-old and young wheat that we have yet again. I'm getting notes, but I don't know if I can put my finger on them. I don't know if it's just the 4 grains kind of all playing off each other, and I can't really, put my finger on it. But that's my point right there. Right, I've been getting
4 grains, too much.
Too much.
I mean, I've been getting fruit. I feel like I've got some marshmallow. I can get a little butterscotch. I can have the caramel.
Yeah. So you have all the things that we've had almost every week.
Right,
I've had caramel of it this week. Like, I got nothing.
But like the fruit, I can't put my finger on. Do I smell cherry? Do I smell... it feels heavy. I smell apricot. I don't know what I smell.
No, you're right. I think it's like some kind of a citrus fruit, but it's a very faint one. And I think that's what's messing with me a little bit too, because, obviously apple is not a citrus fruit, but I'm not really smelling apple. I can't quite put my finger on it either. I feel like everything's just kind of very faint. Mm-hmm. The stuff that you mentioned, I'm getting a little bit of each of that, but it's not very well developed.
No.
It's very... I don't want to say it's very fleeting because it makes it sound like it's, there's nothing going on. We're not getting a heavy ethanol.
No.
But it's a lot of that. I really wish that I could describe what young wheat smells like to me, because it's not an appealing smell. We even mentioned it when we were talking about bluegrass distillers initially coming out saying like cardboard box smell.
Is it like the cardboard cork?
It might be. And then this is terrible because it makes it sound like nobody would ever want to drink it, but I pick up a little bit of drywall almost, and
yep, I can get that too.
Yeah, it's like
the top layer when you sniff it.
Yeah, so I don't know a whole lot about...
Half-inch or quarter-inch?
Half-inch or quarter... There you go, see? I don't know the intricacies of it, but I do know that when we went through a process of remodeling some parts of our house, and they were putting up new drywall in an area, this is what it smelled like. And so...
I took a field trip to a drywall factory in college.
Really?
Lafarge on the Ohio River.
Okay, and are you smelling that as well?
I am, yeah. It was a...
was this baseball related?
No, it was not baseball related. It was an environmental science class, I believe, or some kind of biology kind of class. We were learning a little bit about the environment around us here in Kentucky.
Well, I definitely think there's some promise here, but I'm not really sure where the promise goes. So maybe we should go in for our first taste.
Yeah, let's go in for our first taste.
Well, there's zero burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 2 years, it is smooth. I'll give them that.
Yep.
How do you think the mouthfeel is? I know we don't talk about mouthfeel, but with the 4 grains, is there anything there?
Well, what's interesting? I read, but they said the oats were for the mouthfeel to make it have more of a mouthfeel.
Okay.
And I've noticed that too, with not to get too far off our subject of bourbon, but I've noticed when I've drank some craft beers recently, they brew with oats like the hazy IPAs and other things to kind of give them the more, juicy or hyped up mouthfeel. I don't know if that's coming through on this. I don't know what you guys think.
After last week and this week, like I think you had oats, right? Barley or something less. Am I wrong on that?
I think it was malted.
I want to say it was malted barley.
And wheat, yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like whatever that is, the barley, it doesn't take much of it to like just dominate the flavor. The taste of it.
That's why it's such a low percentage, like 5%,
Right,
10%.
like, it just seems like, we've had that, and we've had it in some other things that we've just sat around drinking before, and it seems like my wife's going to hate me for this. I love you, Ashley, but when my wife eats a red onion, like on a burger or something, it's the only thing I can smell on her for the rest of the night, right? And she'll be like, "There was only one of them on there," and I'm like, "I don't know, it's coming out, and you're like sweating it out,
Yep.
And I feel like that's what the barley is doing in this thing. Like it is quite a strong flavor.
No, I agree with you, and I see that Steven is looking at the color of it as well, and I don't think that I'm looking at it in the light. It's got a very light color compared to some of the other stuff we've tried. But
No, actually, I'm looking at the legs.
Oh, you are looking at the legs?
I'm looking at the
Okay.
legs.
All right. Well,
Where are the legs?
where are they exactly?
They're gripping the side of the glass.
And
They're hanging on.
they're looking good.
Yeah.
But what Michael just said makes a lot of sense, because I do know that I've noticed that again. Certain whiskeys I do like to have the malted grains, and this one is specific to say caramel malted grains. So there's probably a different process of the barley, of the malting of it, than other things. And I do think it kind of brings out something that I may not be too fond of, and I really wish. That's part of the problem here. I don't know. I'm not a master taster. We're not masters at this, but it's not pleasing to me anyway.
You say that, but this is different. This is a different animal. It's the 4-grain.
Yeah.
This might be my first 4-grain I've tasted.
I think it's mine too.
Now, I know that other distillers have, or other companies have.
Stephen, we tried a 4-grain at the Rabbit Hole Distillery in Louisville, Kentucky one time. And I know that was a memorable day for you. But
Ooh, I want to hear about this.
Go
Just
ahead.
make it brief. You don't have to.
Oh, well, okay.
people are waiting to hear it.
So, we went there. We didn't do the tour because, we did a gajillion tours. We just went there for the tasting. And we'd go up to the bar, and, they gave us four pours. 3 of them were bourbons, and the 4th one was an infused,
It was some kind of gin.
some sort of,
Like a London dry gin or something.
some sort of gin.
Yeah.
But
Something to make some money while you're
Right.
aging your bourbon.
I literally could not finish the bourbons. I finished a gin.
Whoa, that bad, huh?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I felt awful not finishing the bourbon. I couldn't do it. And Michael told me, he saw me doing it, trying.
I couldn't do it. That was amazing. Like I was like, dude, we paid $20 for this.
I couldn't finish it.
You got to finish these things.
So, are you tracing that specifically back to the 4-grain, or are you just saying in general?
No, I'm just saying
No,
that was just one
this
of
is
them.
general story.
Okay.
But I guess one of them was a 4-grain.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
And I stole the Glencairn from the tasting.
Oh,
That's
you
awful
know.
of you.
And now when I have that Glencairn and I'm drinking from it at home, Steven makes fun of me because it's like I'm conjuring up memories of a bad experience. So.
Well, so other distilleries have 4-grains. Do we know anything about the 4-grain? Because this has grown on me since we've started.
yeah.
I don't know if it's just had time to breathe. I don't know if this is my second glass and I'm just enjoying it more. I'm still not picking up things, but it's an interesting flavor I haven't really experienced personally.
I agree, and I'll tell you guys that I've not really had a whole lot of experience 4-grain bourbons. I know that, of course, Buffalo Trace had E.H. Taylor 4-grain, which made a huge splash, commanded a lot of money on the secondary market. I talked to some people who had it, and all of them said it was, not all of them, one person said it was the greatest thing they ever tasted. Of course, there's going to be one. But a lot of them said it was overrated. I don't know if that's because it was 4-grain or if it was just because that bottle commanded so much money, people were expecting
No
more
doubt.
from it. I know Koval has a 4-grain. You guys mentioned Rabbit Hole. Other distillers are getting into this whole 4-grain business. I'm not sure. I mean, I get what you're saying, though. Two-year-old bourbon and something eclectic. Hey, what's every bourbon drinker want? They want something that they've never had before. And so maybe even though this is not one that right now, I'm not saying that I would ride, is the greatest thing I ever tasted, but I I can see why it's serviceable and why you're
Now-
feeling
now-
how you're feeling.
Going back on your 2 year again, I'm picking up all these notes all over the place, and I can't put my finger on it. This is a little bit different than the Bluegrass Distiller, where we had, we could put our finger on the notes and be like, another 2-4 years, this could really be something.
Yeah.
Do we feel like this needs just to mature for a little bit, and then all these, hints of flavors are going to start exploding, and we're going to get a very, dynamic bottle from this? Maybe if they put out an 8-year 4-grain that let the wheat and stuff mature, or is this what it is?
I think it's possible. I will say this: the one thing that I hate in young whiskey is when it tastes like I've said this repeatedly, like a sawdust, burnt wood flavor, which other bourbon drinkers have documented that as well. I don't have that flavor in this whiskey, which leads me to believe there'll be some promise. But the flavors are so overlapping and feigning to me that I'm not sure if they'll develop more or if they'll just kind of like disappear into oblivion. What are you thinking?
I'm just wondering if they're even going to try that. 2 years, it's like Bluegrass Distillers last week. They've been around for 6 or 7 years, 8 years, whatever, but they're still putting out 2-year bourbon. So, like, you have the ability.
Well, they have a bib now.
They do, yes. But
and so is that the first step towards
so, like,
an
a place
older
like this,
product?
I just wonder, that. I mean, let's be honest. They're probably their number one source of revenue is the tourists that come to French Lick, right? And so
possibly.
I wonder if they even interested in doing that. Maybe they are. I mean, I would think professionally you would have that kind of curiosity.
And to be fair to them as well, I don't know a whole lot about their brand, whatever else they offer. And this could be the one where this could be the lowest man on the totem pole for all I know, right?
I have no idea.
We looked at their website and they did have a couple different bottles, and one was a bib.
Oh, they did have a bib, so
Right?
they have some
Did I see that?
Yeah, I think
one
you're
was a bib. So, like you said, we could just have one of the younger bottles from their collection.
And I had this thing, and I do remember having this several months ago, maybe 6 months ago or so. Might have even been longer than that. And, I had it on ice, nice ice ball that was shaped like a football.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Chris has some pretty solid, my friend Chris has some pretty solid ice molds in his freezer. But anyway, I thought it was good. Like, I really did. I think I might even texted Steven about that and said, man, I really like this thing.
Are you sure it was this bottle?
I just looked up the picture that he sent me from when he
Okay.
bought it, and it was
Awesome.
the exact same
Okay.
bottle.
So you liked it on ice then?
Yeah,
So maybe opening it up with a little bit of water.
maybe. It might.
Changes it.
Probably, yeah. It probably does.
Well, gentlemen, would you pass, try, or buy on the Spirit of French Lick 4-grain bourbon?
Okay, so this is complicated for me. All right. Brandon did a great job picking out something unique at the liquor store for Steven.
Agree.
Because he could have bought him any number of just regular, whatever that he knows that Steven likes. Could have gotten him a bottle of Woodford Reserve or Buffalo Trace or Maker's, something like that. So he got something different. At the same time, I wonder what the Spirits of French Lick are doing at a liquor store in Paris, Kentucky. Like, what are they doing to stand out? You know what I mean? At the distillery or at the gift shop in a resort town, they're probably selling like crazy. So I would say that I would try this at the resort, but I would not buy it anywhere. And I definitely wouldn't pass.
That's a fair assessment. And I'm here's where I'm at with this one, okay? The price point kills it for me, right?
Because of the age?
Because of the age and because of how it tastes. And so for me, I know we reviewed it already. I told you guys it's one of the ones that I love a whole lot. But like, if I'm going to see a New Riff single barrel on a shelf at $42 or $50 at most, really, in most places, I think
$42 for like a non-store
for
single barrel.
Yeah, I'm going to buy that all day over this. And I'm no disrespect to anybody who's buying it or tasting it, because I know, like I said from the beginning, some critics are really raving about this. I hope they have other stuff that's a little bit more robust, but I'm probably going to pass on this one simply for the fact that even though it doesn't have anything unpleasing going on, no burnt wood, no, oh God, the finish is terrible or whatever, it's pretty smooth, I'm just not going to spend that much money on it. I'd rather have something else at this price point. That's where I'm at with it, even though I think that I agree with Michael. There's some uniqueness to it.
I think I want to surprise you on this, gentlemen.
Okay.
But I have two answers.
Oh, okay.
I would 100% try this. It's different. It's a 4-grain. I mean, that's not every bourbon Nashville is 4-grain. And if you want to add something unique to your collection, there's not many 4-grains on the market.
That's very true.
And if you even want to touch a rabbit hole for bourbon,
Well,
you're gonna spend twice as much.
Okay.
Or you're gonna spend $80 on a bottle probably.
probably.
So, and you're not gonna get your hands on a E.H. Taylor.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else is out there, but I mean, you don't see 4-grains. So I would say if you want to add something interesting to your collection that you can, sample out to people, I would say buy it.
Okay.
And I would say try it because it's going to give you, right off the bat, when we opened it up and we saw it smelted, it was interesting. And even now, I'm still enjoying smelling it. Like I said, I can't put my finger on smells because I think there's a lot going on and it's young. But I'm going to say it's a fun bottle.
That's the beauty of this. The fact that we can all have times where we disagree a little bit, but, there's unique perspective coming from each of us, which I think really is reflective of the way that bourbon tasting goes sometimes, right? Everybody's got a different palate. You taste things that are pleasing in different ways, and you go accordingly. So.
Okay, so I want to go just real quick to the E.H. Taylor 4-grain. All right, one time I
Many years ago.
yes, I got a couple stories here, but the first one is at a liquor store here in town. There was a day that they get their stuff in on Thursdays, and I knew that. This was 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I knew that. So I got there early. There was already somebody in. They were getting an E.H. Taylor 4-grain in. They were getting 2 of them in that day.
This is circa what?
2018, 17 or 18. So anyway, this guy spent the night there, like outside, okay, waiting on that 4-grain. Okay, waiting on that E.H.
Is this that liquor store on the corner there?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, I'm not gonna lie. He's like, there were some creepy people walking by, throughout the night. So he got his 4-grain. He said he was never gonna sell it. He said he was, that was something he was gonna drink, and I think he paid $110 for it or something, which is pretty about right for a local place that can't sell it as cheap as Liquor Mart or Total Wine. So anyway. That's the one story that the guy's spending the night there. And first of all, I thought you spent the night, and I got there at 7:30 in the morning, and I was only 3 people behind you. But but there were only 2 bottles, so hey, look, you got what you got what you wanted. Second is I on a raffle site I won a 4-grain one time.
Oh,
but E.H. Taylor 4-grain, but I would have had to buy out the rest of the spots, and it was going to be $240 because it couldn't even fill. And so at the time, I was like, man, I can't give anybody $240 for a bottle of bourbon. I just can't bring myself to doing that.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at the secondary market, and it's like $1,100 or $1,200 for that bottle. I'm like, man, that $240 seems like chump change now compared to what you could have gotten for it.
Yeah, the lessons that we've all learned.
I remember as the stories matured.
There was no way of knowing. There was just no way. And at that time, everybody agreed with me.
Yeah.
They're like, "Yeah, don't do that."
Oh, I was the same way. I passed on so many things that I look back and I'm like, "What was I doing? What was I thinking? Did I not know what was going on?" You could have bought entire shelves of Boone County at every store in town.
Absolutely.
The 12-year, 13-year-old, the 14-year-old store picks, and now those things sell for $5, $6, $7.
I was actually reminiscing with a guy.
Oh my gosh!
The other day about all the stuff that we had come across at these local places, days when you would go through the line a couple times because there weren't anybody else there. And, they got a whole case of Elmer T. Lee, or they got OKI-12s and Rock Hill Farms. And
I have 3 stories I can share with
those
you.
days are just over.
3 bottle stories that are kind of haunting. The first was, this is years ago. It was right as Angel's Envy was coming out.
Okay.
I knew my dad was collecting, and I was going to get it for his birthday. So I go to the liquor store, and at that point, I didn't know much. And I went in there, and I was like, "You have Angel's Envy, He's like, "No, but..." I remember this specifically. He's like, we have this Weller 12 if you want. And I didn't know what that was. And I was like, "No, I really want this Angel Envy." I was
the old label Weller 12.
Oh, it definitely would have been. The second one is that, I kind of got into it probably a couple years before the boom, started getting my feet wet. And Blanton's was on the shelf. I think it was $42.
It's about right, yeah.
And I was looking, there was one left on the shelf. I was like, I didn't know what it was, I was like, I can't bring myself to spend that.
Yeah.
All right, that's second. Third, the liquor store I go to sometimes, Kroger around the corner from me. I'm not kidding you, weeks. There was a Rock Hill Farms sitting top shelf, $50, and it just sat there for weeks. And I looked at it every time. I was like, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to spend $50 on something I'm not sure about.
Yeah. Oh, man. God, the things that we kick ourselves over. Yeah. I remember the first time I bought an OKI 10-year, it had dust on it. Like, I literally got off the shelf and had to wipe the dust off it when I took it to the register. I was like, is this any good? It was like $40.
Okay, so on social media, I saw that Anthony got into the seltzer game, the hard seltzer game this week.
Yep.
Ah, yes, I did.
Bought him some White Claws.
You guys twisted my arm so much, I actually started trying to work out now, and I'm actually drinking seltzers. I think this is a game changer for me. We'll have to see how this develops because I'm fully converted now. This is crazy.
You can drink seltzers anytime. Like, that's the thing.
We had two earlier.
Then I went and ran. Like, it doesn't matter.
Dang.
Stephen got to try the ranch water at my house today.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not
The
bad.
ranch water
Very good.
seltzers.
And then
I got the Kirkland.
I had the Kirkland signature.
Oh, yeah? How was that? How does it stack up against the White Claw? That's what I want to know because that's where I'm at right now. I'm just getting started.
He gave me my baseline is the black cherry.
Okay.
And White Claw's better.
Okay.
White Claw's better.
$20 for a 24 pack.
You can't go wrong.
You got about
Nice.
24 of them, but
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see you're in the seltzer game. So
did you try one? Which one did you try?
I actually had a mango, and it was very good. I can't lie. I mean,
Were you outside working, or you just had it with dinner?
I
or
was
just
outside.
chilling?
I was outside in the yard doing some work, and so it actually worked out nicely. That was right where I wanted to be.
there was a time, I think it was like right around the beginning of the pandemic, and in March of 2020, where mango was like, that was hard to find.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the one everybody wanted. And so, like, I was pumped. I found a 12-pack of it at Kroger one day. I was taking pictures of it, sending it out to people. They were asking if I found anything good at, when I went to the liquor store. I'm like, yeah, I found the mango hard seltzers. White Claws.
Yeah, I do. It's taken a bit of me to get used to the fact that I'm talking about seltzers, even though I'm such a fan of bourbon. So I just think that it's beautiful. It's a great thing. Good testament of friendship here.
And when you pour them in a glass, they are clear. I don't know. This drove my wife crazy.
I've never poured them in a glass.
But I couldn't believe that they were clear. She's like, "What'd you think they were? They're just
bubbly water."
Yeah,
some
seltzer
artificial
water.
color.
I'm like, I don't know. And
right?
that's just the flavors. I was just thinking that.
But why did you pour it in a glass?
It wasn't cold yet, so I poured it in a glass and threw some ice in it.
Yeah.
Oh, on the rocks.
Yes, it was on the rocks.
Seltzers on the rocks.
Seltzers
That's
on
what
the
I'm talking
rocks.
about.
What's next from the draft? Get a picture of it when you go out there.
So hey, look, y'all make fun of my seltzers all you want, but you know what? I can't drink bourbon all the time.
You don't want to open that fridge. There's a lot of seltzer in there right now.
Exactly. So.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY. Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comments section. Until next time, keep it neat.